Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Nigga, this for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo, but God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling flows like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm playing for dust and they play too deep for beachside. Little legs I got too deep. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, new way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. I'm going to run through the results and happenings from Raw on February the 23rd to last day of February, where Collision and Elimination Chamber happened. So we're going to start with Raw. Michael Cole and Corey Graves are in the ring to welcome us to the show, which will feature a tribute to AJ Styles as the main event. Gunther, of course, comes out and says this is a disgrace. So two of them, the two commentators, and go to the commentary table, and they start to talk about Gunther a little bit. Gunther lists off the people he has retired. So here's Adam Pearce with security. Tell him to get the hell out of here. This isn't the time or place to do this. Gunther says he'll leave, but he's going to be here for the disgrace that is the tribute of AJ Styles. Dragon Lee then comes out and jumps Gunther, but is quickly broken up by security and agents. Gunther yells at Pierce in the back, but Dragon Lee jumps him yet again. That's broken up again by the same kind of people, with Adam Pearce saying that it's not Gunther's night. Cody Rhodes then walks past them. Cody then goes to the ring for a promo. Before he can talk too much, the Vision come out and cut him off. Austin Theory doesn't like this town and is embarrassed to actually be from there because he's from Atlanta and that's where they were. Logan Paul threatens to take over SmackDown and kick Rhodes completely off the show, with the Vision starting to take over here tonight. Bronson Reed is going to qualify for the Elimination Chamber, but Rhodes thinks someone will have to have something to say about that, and that hits Jey Uso's music, who comes out for our very first match. And in his Elimination Chamber qualifier, Jey Uso qualifies, defeating the OG Grande Americano and Bronson Reed when he hits the spear and Uso splash on Americano. This qualifies Jey for the Elimination Chamber. This match had an unfortunate spot where Bronson Reed tore his bicep muscle. He was supposed to win this match, and we'll see it kind of rectified on SmackDown a little bit. But Bronson Reed was supposed to win here, but the Vision seems to be snake bit. The whole storyline seems to be snake bit. We'll talk about a part of that maybe coming back when we get to Elimination Chamber. But it seemed like the vision for the Vision was pretty laid out going into WrestleMania, or over the last few months, seemed like it was pretty set in stone where the Vision storyline was going to go. But it seems like every time they kind of you kind of think what's happening, somebody gets hurt. So we'll see if Braun comes back. Like I said, we'll talk about a return that happened in Elimination Chamber, but we'll see where the whole thing ends up. But it's probably the third or fourth choice in the grand scheme of things if it ends up where it seems like it's going. But we go from there. We look at AJ Styles' debut in 2016 and kind of his first year. Talks about his Royal Rumble appearance, how he won the title in the first year. We then go to CM Punk. He arrives in the arena with NASCAR driver Tyler Reddick, who was just coming off of a win of a race the previous weekend, I believe. We then get Liv Morgan with Dominic Mysterio. She's here to announce who she's picking for WrestleMania. We look back at last week's interview with Stephanie Vaquer. We get subtitles this time, kind of telling us what she said in Spanish. Vaquer said that Morgan has sacrificed nothing in her time in WWE and has to hide behind a man to have success. She's nothing without Judgment Day, and Vaquer would destroy her if she so chooses her. We go back to the arena. Dom Mysterio introduces the potential WrestleMania opponents, bringing out Stephanie Vaquer and Jade Cargill. Liv says she's made her pick for WrestleMania, and she wants to address what Vaquer said last week. The things Vaquer said really hurt her, and she didn't know what Vaquer had went through just to get to WWE. She didn't know Vaquer's story, but now she knows to focus on her own. With that being said, she goes like she's walking towards Jade to pick her, and then she turns around and knocks Vaquer out with the microphone and makes her pick. And Oblivion is hit on Vaquer as well. So it's going to be Liv versus Stephanie at WrestleMania. We then go to Javon Evans. He is happy with his win last week in qualifying for Elimination Chamber. And he stops to talk to Offset, a rapper that was in the building that night. I believe he's from Atlanta, so he was in the building. And Javon daps him up and all that kind of stuff. We then get the New Day come in to say tonight should be a tribute to Xavier Woods, who is also from Atlanta. And they have invited Offset here for years. Offset thinks New Day sucks. And a match is made between Kofi Kingston and Javon Evans later tonight. We then look at AJ Styles again winning the WWE Championship in 2017. We see that the Good Brothers are here for AJ Styles' celebration. We then go to another match. Natty is able to defeat Maxine Dupree via ref stoppage when Maxine is knocked out after getting pushed very hard into the ring post. Natty kind of does some ground and pound after that to continue to kind of knock her out and beat her down. So we then get Raquel Rodriguez. They're in the Judgment Day clubhouse. She's ready to win tonight to qualify for Elimination Chamber. JD McDonough clears the air with Finn, saying that he just wants Balor to be the world heavyweight champion. Balor says brothers fight and it's water under the bridge, but he has to do it alone at Elimination Chamber. JD seems to be okay with that, but Dom Mysterio says he doesn't want to do this on his own. Next week, he wants he wants help against Penta. Balor says he's been focusing on himself lately because he was on his own when the team was hurt. Maybe I keep calling him Ray. Maybe Dom needs to grow up a little bit and focus on himself instead of worrying about others helping him all the time. We then get video of Obafemi that leads to us seeing the crate that is once again on Monday Night Raw. Adam Pearce tells the delivery person just to send it to Chicago, where Elimination Chamber will be, and him and Nick Aldis will open it together. Rusev then pops up, but Obafemi interrupts before Rusev could say too much to Pearce. Rusev says Femi talks too much for a rookie, and they don't make a match, but it seems like a match that is going to happen between the two of them before too long. It says Pearce basically says it's not enough time on the card tonight, but it will happen eventually. So we'll see when that happens. We then get Paul Heyman coming out with Brock Lesnar. Heyman says that traditionally at WrestleMania there are two main events: the title match and the Undertaker's streak. Lesnar is the man who took one of those things away when he conquered the Undertaker. So now the only dead man is the man who faces Lesnar at WrestleMania. Heyman doesn't know who it's going to be, but because no one is crazy enough to face Brock. We see a list of appearances that Lesnar is going to make on the road to WrestleMania. He obviously has tonight and 5 more shows between now and WrestleMania, all on Raw. And if anyone wants to take a chance, they can make their decision at any of those shows, but no one has the guts to do it. But the chance is there. So an open challenge for WrestleMania from Brock Lesnar has been laid out. We'll see who answers it. Obviously, I think some people have their idea of who they want it to be, and we'll see if that ends up happening or if it ends up being somebody else. But we then go to Becky Lynch. She talks about how she has changed the wrestling world, and her cover of WWE 2K is a lot better than AJ Lee's husband's. AJ isn't even going to be the best AJ to retire this year. So obviously a shot at AJ Lee, talking about AJ Styles there. We then get Javon Evans. He defeats Kofi Kingston via pinfall following the OG cutter. We then go to various wrestlers praising AJ Styles and his contributions to the business. We then see Frankie Kazarian from TNA come in, obviously big friends with AJ throughout the years. And he runs into Abyss, who is hiding in like a broom closet. And he's full Abyss. He's not Joseph Park. He's not Chris Park. He is Abyss. He's got the mask and the kind of whatever gear you want to say he had throughout all those years. But him and Kazarian start to walk towards the ring, it seems. We then get Finn Balor. It's kind of a promo package. He talks about how he wants to prove that he's the best in the world. And at Elimination Chamber, he's going to disrupt the WrestleMania main event. We then get CM Punk coming out to the ring to cut a promo. He's here to celebrate AJ Styles, so he's going to try to be brief to give Styles as much time as he can. Punk says it's been great. It's a great time to be alive on a Monday night in Atlanta. But what if he doesn't get to say that again? Finn Balor wants a title shot and broke up Punk versus Styles in Toronto. People have been asking Punk what he's doing, and the answer is the best that he can. He's following the examples of legends he shared the locker room with, and that's the best that he can do. He doesn't like dealing with what ifs, but what if Roman Reigns was here tonight? Reigns will be here next week, but Punk doesn't have to deal in what ifs. He doesn't have to ask what if he's in the main event of WrestleMania, because that's what he is, just like he is the World Heavyweight Champion. And that's kind of the end of the promo there. We then get our final qualifying match for Elimination Chamber. Raquel Rodriguez gets the last spot. She defeats Kairi Sane and Io Sky when she hits the Tejano bomb on Kairi Sane. This one was kind of up in the air. I kind of figured Io would qualify just because I figured both Rhea and Io would be in the match, but I kind of think I have a feeling where they're going after Mania and after the result on Friday. I think they might tease some tension between Io and Rhea based on results from Elimination Chamber. So we'll see where that goes from there. But Raquel was probably the second. I didn't think Kairi had any chance of winning, but I would have probably thought Io was winning going in, but obviously she didn't. We then go to the main event tribute show, tribute video, tribute segment for AJ Styles. We actually get a tribute video that is set to Higher by Creed, so visiting back to the early 2000s with that one. AJ Styles then comes in for a big celebration. Styles hits the pose, says he was going to wear a suit. But the last time he did that, he beat up Cody Rhodes, so he didn't think that was a great idea. He says he grew up 45 minutes away from here in Gainesville, Georgia, and he fell in love with wrestling. He wrestled in Gainesville. He wrestled in the Asylum in Nashville, the Tokyo Dome in Japan, and a few times under the bright lights of WrestleMania. When he was in Japan, he met some good brothers named Gallows and Anderson who taught him to have fun in wrestling again. He's done just about everything in wrestling, but he hasn't been a full-time father yet. You've heard this before, but he's missed birthdays, anniversaries, games of his games that his children have played, and much, much more. His biggest flex is having the best wife in the world. His family is obviously front row for all this, and they blow kisses back and forth and all that good stuff. She never held him back. She kept the family together while he watched them grow up from FaceTime. He thinks some more people here with her before moving on to losing to Gunther at the Royal Rumble. No, it didn't go the way he wanted, but he got to go out 10 years after he debuted at the same show. He didn't leave his gloves in the ring, but at the end of the day, he's a man of his word, and all he has are his words. Styles then takes off the jacket, lays it in the ring, takes off the gloves as well. He says he didn't take off the gloves in Saudi because he wanted to leave the gloves at his home in Atlanta. It's exactly what he does, and the locker room empties out, including some SmackDown stars, some obviously like TNA stars that we kind of talked about before that were there. Some other people, obviously all of AJ's friends and, people that he's been around, and you just pretty much the whole roster that was there that night. We then hear a gong sound. We have Biker Taker come out. Undertaker says he and Styles have some unfinished business, which kind of surprises AJ. Styles kind of doesn't seem to know where this is going. He says the unfinished business we have is that he has the honor to tell him that he is going into the 2026 Hall of Fame class. So far we have AJ Styles and Stephanie McMahon, which is pretty. Obviously more people will get added to it, but that's a pretty stacked, Hall of Fame class so far. So pretty cool segment for AJ. Kind of saved the show. I thought it was really well done. The show before that, honestly, the show before the last two segments was pretty lackluster. The crowd was kind of crappy. And with the injury in the first Elimination Chamber qualifier, just kind of knocked the wind out of it. I think people are, you're supposed to boo the Vision, but I think people are kind of behind Bronson and seemed pretty down that he got hurt, obviously. So, but I thought, speaking of the last couple of segments, I thought the women's Elimination Chamber qualifier was the best match on the show, and it wasn't particularly even close. So I thought that match was pretty good, but the AJ segment was really good. I'm glad he got a big send off. I'm glad he's going into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, Raw was pretty lackluster for the most part outside of those couple of things. But we'll move from there to NXT. We have Robert Stone opening the show, talking about all the stuff we have coming tonight. We have quite a few title matches, and we'll see if we get quite a few title changes. We do get a title change in our very first match, where Swipe Right of Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes defeat Dark State when Tony D comes ringside and spine busts Saquon Sugars on the hardest part of the ring, and Brad Baylor jumps on him as soon as Tony rolls him back in the ring. Swipe Right are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. I'm going to keep calling them Swipe Right. They call them the Vanity Project. The whole group is the Vanity Project. Tag team is Swipe Right. So I'm going to keep calling them Swipe Right. So, but they are your new NXT Tag Team Champions. We then go to Miles Bourne. He talks about how he has always overcome the odds, and he'll do that again when he wins the North American Championship from Ethan Page later tonight. We then get Keanu Carver. He pretty quickly dispatches of Sean Legacy via pinfall with a jackhammer type power slam, is kind of what I call it. Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray agree to support each other going forward. When Kalani Jordan comes in to brag that she made Lola Vice tap, obviously Lola's kind of a submission specialist, so she takes a big amount of pride in that. Lola Vice then comes in and they beat up on each other until they're pulled apart. We then get a speed title match. Elio LaFleur is able to defeat Jasper Troy and Eli Knight when Elio hits the Hurricane Rana driver on Jasper Troy, and then Knight follows it with a moonsault. But Knight is obviously selling the effects of the moonsault, and Elio takes advantage, gets the pin on Jasper Troy, and becomes your new speed champion. So the new mid-speed champion, Elio LaFleur. So two title matches, 2 title changes. So we'll see if that continues throughout the night. We then get Ricky Saints. He brags about his acting debut on the show Wild Cards on the CW, but he's worried about Ethan Page's ankle because it obviously got Pillmanized last week. Ethan Page says he's fine for tonight, and the Vanity Project come in to celebrate their title win. Saints promises to help Page retain later tonight. We then get a first of a series of videos on Joe Hendry throughout the night. He talks about how hard he worked to get here, including building himself up with his wrestling, his music video parodies that he's done throughout the years. Then the world changed with COVID, kind of took him out a little bit, but he never gave up and became what you see here today. We'll get a couple more of those throughout the night. We then kind of get another one of those like NXT origin videos. This one's on Damian Priest. He talked about how he learned how to be a star in NXT, and then it prepared him for the main roster and what he's become today, obviously. We then get Dark State. They're pissed, but Lola Vice comes in to steal the camera and storm into Robert Stone's office. Vice says she wants a NXT Underground match with Kalani Jordan for Vengeance Day, and Robert Stone says they can have that. We then get JC Jane defeating Sol Ruka via pinfall following the rolling encore. Before the match, Zarya had speared and F5'd Sol, so they finally break up. So she destroys Sol pre-match, and the match ends up only being the rolling encore, and JC retains the NXT Women's Championship. And then after the match, Zarya takes Sol Ruka back outside and F5s her on the announcer's table in a pretty brutal spot. I thought it was a pretty nasty landing that she took on that. So Sol and Zarya are no more. We'll hear more from Zarya before the end of the night. We then go to Tana Paxley. She's cutting a promo from the crowd. She talks about twisting herself into knots to find love, and she got so close to making someone stay. And the people took her in, accepted the real her, and then obviously turned on her. Which is why she's going for the Women's North American title. And she's going to take it from them because they took obviously the love from her. She wants to face Izzy Dame one more time, and Dame comes in and they kind of get into a scuffle. We then go to Thea Hale defeating Blake Monroe via pinfall when Jada Parker comes in and hits the Hypnotic on Blake and then throws her back in, and Thea hits a running neck breaker to get the win. This advances Thea in the women's speed tournament. I don't think we really know what the matchup is on the other side, but she obviously is in the finals to see who faces Fallon Henley for that title next. We then go to another Joe Hendry video. He talks about rising up the TNA ranks, getting the #1 song on iTunes in the UK, and starting to kind of make appearances in WWE and NXT. Obviously, talking about his appearance on WrestleMania last year, and then now he's made the transition to NXT and has become the NXT champion. We then go to Uriah Connors. He defeats Kel Dixon via pinfall, falling a hard knee to the skull. So obviously, partners broken up. And obviously Uriah's representing Team Nepo over there in that group. We then look back at Zarya turning on Solruka earlier tonight. We then get Zarya coming up on Fatal Influence, tells JC Jane that she wants a title shot next week, and threatens to beat their ass if it doesn't get made. So I believe it does get made, so we will see Zarya and JC Jane for the title next week. We then get the Vanity Project. They praise Ricky Saints on his acting debut. Saints has a concert planned for next week, so he leaves to prep a little bit. Project want to help Ethan Page retain, but Hank and Tank and Shiloh Hill come in, apparently having stole the Vanity Project's car's steering wheel. They have a little brawl, but it quickly gets broken up, so that may come into play later on. We then get video of the Miles Bourne versus Ethan Page feud for the North American Championship. Bourne is trying to get his first big win, and Page has convinced him to get a bit more physical. Obviously, this led to him Pillmanizing Ethan's ankle after the title match was made last week. We then get Robert Stone. He runs down next week's card, kind of gives us some of the matches that are going to happen next week. Izzy Dayton then comes in to say she'll go face-to-face in an interview type segment with Tatum Paxley next week as well. So that is added to the card. And then we get our main event where Miles Bourne defeats Ethan Page via pinfall with the Born Again. After some absolute chaos ringside, we get Hank, Tank, Shiloh, and Joe Hendry all warding off the Vanity Project and Ricky Saints. So Miles can actually get the win, and he is your new North American champion. So Ethan Page's great reign finally over. I imagine they'll have a rematch. But I assume this is pretty much it for Ethan Page on NXT. But I've been known to say that in the past, and people have hung around for years afterwards. So I would think it would be a good move to move Ethan up. But obviously, he does a lot of good for NXT at this point. Like I said, he's not one of those guys that's going to blow you away, but he can make a new baby face like Miles Bourne look really good in a match like this. So, and he did here tonight. I think it was the best match. I thought it was really good. Big moment for Miles. It's kind of been building and building ever since he was kind of hung in there with Obafemi for the NXT title months and months ago. But you kind of thought maybe he would be the next guy to have the kind of mid-card title. And I assume he'll pretty soon vault up the card and maybe be your NXT champion within a year or so, just depending on where they go. But he seems like he could be a new young star that could be a big part of NXT going forward. So, but yeah, Page and Bourne, best match for me. And then I'll head on to Dynamite. We open with the Babes of Wrath and Megan Bain and Penelope Ford both cutting promos, kind of your like picture-in-picture promos that, not picture-in-picture, but, kind of your Saturday night's main event kind of hype promos to start the show. And Lena Cross has obviously joined Megan Bain and Penelope Ford, so she's going to help them get the tag titles tonight. We then look back at FTR attacking the Young Bucks family on Collision. So tonight it's going to be Mile High Madness. We then go to John Moxley. He defeats El Clone in our opener via pinfall with a paradigm shift. We then look back at Swerve Strickland turning heel on Kenny Omega last week. Prince Nana comes in to say Swerve doesn't care about the $100,000 fine and introduces and brings in Swerve, who stands on the announcer's table. Swerve knows that some people don't like what he did last week, but he had to prove how dangerous he can be. He made a killing taking out the Elite over the last year, and that takes him back to All In, where he talked to Hangman Page. Does he feel bad about what he's done? Back then he said yes, but now he realizes he needs to go back to that if he wants to be at the top. We then go to Brody King. He is ready to take out Mark Davis on his path back to the world title. Bandito seems to approve of Brody's vision and path back to being at the top of the card. We then get Gabe Kidd. He defeats Orange Cassidy via pinfall, following a pile driver. He had gouged his eye out while the referee was distracted. Ends up hitting him with a pretty brutal pile driver to win the match. Clark Connors comes in to beat down Cassidy with Gabe Kidd, but Darby Allin comes in with a skateboard and runs off the War Dogs from there. We then get Thunder Rosa. She is going to get a women's title match next week. Chris Statlander says she'll be in Thunder Rosa's corner, but just be careful of the Sisters of Sin and Tekla. When asked why she cares so much, Statlander doesn't seem to have much to say, but Statlander just wants to make sure things are fair between Thunder Rosa and Tekla. We then get Kevin Knight. He defeats Mansoor via pinfall following a UFO splash. After the match, Kevin Knight says he knows Hangman will win the world title, but he'd love a shot as well. We'll see more about that on Collision. Tony Schiavone is in the ring for the decision about the Revolution World title match stipulation. Hangman Page and MJF come to the ring, with MJF telling the fans to keep it quiet. They're conducting business here. MJF recaps the idea of Page not being able to challenge for the world title again if he loses, and references doing the same thing to Cody Rhodes back in the day. After throwing his gum into the trash that is the crowd, MJF suggests a coin toss to decide the stipulation. Page wins, it's Texas Death Match, but if MJF wins, it's a one-way no DQ match, meaning MJF can do whatever the hell he wants, and Page himself can be disqualified. Page says he's into the idea, talks about the variety of things he can do in a Texas Death Match. If Page can't beat this piece of shit, Page doesn't deserve to be champion. MJF then flips the coin and wins, but Hangman wants to see the coin. He doesn't believe that MJF did things fairly. Jet Speed and Brodito then come out and cut off MJF from running away. And we learn, of course, that it is a double-sided coin. Whatever the call was, heads or tails. And they're both heads, I believe. And therefore, Tony Khan buzzes into Tony Schiavone's earpiece and says it is going to be Texas Death Match because MJF tried to cheat the situation, and MJF is livid. We then look back at the Brawling Birds debut. The Birds are happy with their win and don't give a fuck who they have to fight to get to the titles. We then get the Babes of Wrath. They retain against Megabad, but it's because Lena Cross comes in and hits Willow with one of the belts. After the match, the Megabad and Lena Cross then continue to beat down, and Bane grabs one of the belts and holds it high. I believe it was the TBS championship. So we'll see if she starts to go singles more now that Lena Cross is in. We then get Brody King. He defeats Mark Davis via pinfall with a pair of big clotheslines. After the match, Bandito comes in to check on Brody, who wants to face Swerve at Revolution. Bandito wants a fight of his own at Revolution and says he wants to face Andrade El Idolo. So we'll see if either of those matches get made. We then get Kyle Fletcher with his TNT Championship with a new pink strap. He dubs his title Pinky, probably taking a little shot at Tommaso Ciampa there. And Kazuchika kind of comes in to say they're both champions, unlike Nosuke Takeshita. Okada wants them to team up on Collision, and yes, they have a team name, and it is Proto-Kata, because that's the most important thing in the world these days. So we have Proto-Kata, and they're going to have a big tag match on Collision. And then we get our main event where Jack Perry, the Young Bucks, and the Rascals defeat the Demand and FTR when the Bucks hit the BTE trigger, and then Jack Perry follows it with the running knee on Ricochet to get the pin. That match was entertaining. I just don't feel like it got a ton of time, but Mox and Clone to open the show was a pretty solid match. So definitely check that one out if you check something out from Dynamite. So pretty promo heavy show. Not just a ton of matches, but none of them were particularly bad. But that was the one that stood out the most to me. So we'll then go to Impact. We open with a match actually. We had the Nemeths of Nick and Ryan, obviously. They beat Leon Slater and Mike Santana when Nick is able to get his knees up on a 450 attempt. Eric Young had come out and distracted Leon, so he didn't hit it quite right away as he would have liked to. But then Eric Young, obviously, like I said, distracts Leon. Leon goes for the 450, but Nick gets his knees up and rolls him up for the win. So Leon and Mike obviously won the main event last week, but due to chicanery, the Nemeths were able to get one over on them here tonight. We didn't get the Righteous. They don't get why the Hardys don't trust them because the four of them should be like brothers. We then get Danny Luna. She defeats the former Knockouts Women's Champion, Lei Ying Lee, via pinfall following the lunar landing. Danny Luna at one point before the visa issue thing was the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. So I don't know if they've forgotten that or she still has that hanging out there or what, but she continues to be dominant. So we'll see if she challenges Ariana Grace at some point soon. We then get Alicia Edwards. She talks Tommy Dreamer, I almost called him Tony Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer and Carlos Silva about a new contract, but she declines. Moose then comes in and says he's going to take care of the system and thinks Alicia should be there with him on his side and his corner. This makes her decide that she is in and she signs her new contract. We then get AJ Francis. He defeats Mance Warner via DQ when Warner uses a chair that Francis had brought in. Kind of beats him down with it. So obviously that feud is not going to be over. We then get Mickie James come out for a face-to-face showdown with Ash by Elegance. Mickie calls Ash out and cuts off the personal concierge's entrance, which does bring out Ash. James talks about helping Ash get a job here, but Ash says that she was already the hottest free agent and was going to get signed anyways. That doesn't work for Mickie, who calls Ash out for calling out former Knockouts champions online like a mark. She calls her a mark. Ash makes it clear that she is not a mark because she is the only one. She only cares about being the champion. That brings Mickie James having to leave the title in the ring due to her injuries. She has thought about that every day, and Ash isn't going to disrespect the title by mocking it. Ash says it's none of Mickie James's business what happened to her that made her vacate the title because she's better than Mickie ever was anyways. They then start to brawl, and we cut back to where the concierge is with Mickie James's son. Mickie then sprints to the back but gets jumped by the rest of the Elegance brand, and Ash gives her a DDT on the stage, and Mickie is left laying to end the segment. So kind of a match that you wouldn't have expected, or that I wasn't expected to be made, but obviously something, Mickey's a legend, obviously a TNA legend, WWE legend as well. So we'll see what they can do together, but obviously a pretty brutal ending to the segment with the DDT on the stage. So we'll see if they have a match up soon or if they'll wait to kind of one of their bigger shows. When they we come back from commercial, Santino comes in to check on a laid out Jody Threat. Jody Threat's laid out backstage as well. She was attacked by the Elegance brand as well. Daria Ray then comes in to yell at Santino for letting everything fall apart, and all this stuff happened backstage. We then go to another match. Jada Stone defeats Tasha Steelz via pinfall with a crucifix pin for an upset win. After the match, Tasha Steelz, of course, lays Jada out to get her heat back. We go from there. We have Tom Hannafin. He brings out Steve Macklin for a chance to tell his side of the story. The fans tell Macklin that he doesn't work here, and Hannafin tells us that he and Macklin have been friends for a long time. Macklin says that for once this is about him rather than Mike Santana. The fans say that they don't care, as Macklin says everything changed when he saw the briefcase that said he was fired. That night, Santana came up to him and said he was sorry. Hannafin, seemingly realizing that the fans are derailing this, asked if that was enough to validate Macklin attacking Santana twice. Macklin brings up Santana not appearing for their tag match after he lost the world title. Santana said he was going through something, and that's really being selfish, according to Macklin. Macklin could come out here and talk about his drinking problem, or his PTSD, or his survivor's guilt from his time in the Army, obviously. The fans get on Macklin again before he says he got Tom Hannafin his job. Hannafin says that's true, but they should have talked about this over a beer instead of on national television. Reality is that Macklin has been has been fined by the company over and over again for internal actions because he won't take responsibility for the things that he does. Macklin then punches Hannafin in the gut, and then security and Mike Santana run in to chase Macklin off. Macklin eventually even shoves down Matthew Raywalt at one point before he leaves. And then after the break, Gia Miller takes Hannafin's place on commentary for the main event. And in that main event, the System defeats the Hardys and the Righteous when Eddie hits the Boston Knee Party on Vincent, who had shoved Matt out of the way of taking the force of the move. After the match, Moose comes out to go after the System, but they beat him down until Alicia Edwards comes out to protect him, much to her husband Eddie's dismay, and they kind of have some tension to end the show. So, obviously the Macklin segment took up a big part of the show. It was pretty good for the most part, I would say, and the Mickey and Ash segment took a good chunk. But the main event, 8-man tag, was my best match of the show for that one. So if you want to check out match from that, check out that System, Hardy's Righteous 8-man tag. We then go to SmackDown from there. We open with Jey Uso having been attacked. Kind of talked about this earlier. And he is taken away in an ambulance. And that's how they kind of take him out of the match, since he really wasn't supposed to be in the match in the first place. We'll see who they replace him with throughout the night. Jimmy Uso says he will find out who did this. And Trick Williams comes in and says, that's one down. While it doesn't seem like Trick is saying he attacked him, Javon doesn't like that Trick said what he said. We then cut to Drew McIntyre in the arena. He says he did not do what happened to Jey. Cody Rhodes comes up on the screen and says he doesn't like this, the fact that Jey got taken out. So Nick Aldis and security come out to get rid of McIntyre. Rhodes comes in to say, let's fight right here, right now. But McIntyre says no, because it is of no benefit to him. Rhodes shouts that McIntyre is disengaging, calls him a bitch, and that he has run away during his entire title reign. Randy Orton comes out. Orton wants to be the main event of WrestleMania, which draws out Trick. Trick brags about getting mentioned by Bruno Mars and says that since we're in the KFC arena, he can add something to the menu. Javon Evans then comes out and he says he's here to beat Randy Orton's record of the youngest world champion in WWE history. LA Knight then comes out saying everyone here, including McIntyre, belongs to him. And Williams says, whoop that. He says he's going to, when he looks at Trick, he says he's going to whoop that Trick. Knight thinks that that's a good idea. And the brawl is on with the two of them fighting to the back and RKO dropping Javon Evans. Orton and Cody then kind of stare at each other and don't get physical. They kind of look at each other, but nothing really happens from that. We then get Tiffany Stratton. She is ready to win the Elimination Chamber, but Asuka with Kairi Sane comes in to interrupt her. Stratton is ready for Asuka, and they seem to set up a match for later. We then get Uncle Howdy defeating Solo Sikoa via pinfall following a Sister Abigail. After the match, Howdy seems to get the lantern back, but of course the MFTs come out, jump him, and take it back. The rest of the Wyatt Six come in, but it's just a little bit too late as the MFTs have scurried away before they can get the lantern back. We then get Nick Aldis. He has Drew McIntyre leave the arena. The Vision can then come out. The only three left, Heyman, Theory, and Logan Paul. Heyman offers Logan Paul's services for the Elimination Chamber to take Jey Uso's spot. Aldis finds all this very convenient that they showed up tonight, but he'll make some calls to see what ultimately needs to be decided about that last spot. We then get video of the women's tag team title match for later tonight. We get Rhea and Io talking about how they are ready to retain tonight, and then they're ready for Rhea to win the chamber at Elimination Chamber. Jade then comes in to say that Ripley is on her own tomorrow night and doesn't have her buddy to help her. So obviously causes a little tension. Maybe gets you into the idea that may be the match at WrestleMania. We then get Jacob Fatu. He comes in to up to Nick Aldis and accuses Drew McIntyre of taking out Jay just like he took out him a few months ago. Jacob wants into the chamber for his cousin, but Aldis doesn't quite say yes, but he does say he'll make some calls. Obviously, he said the same thing earlier. We get the same Damian Priest NXT video talking about how I got him ready for main roster. We then go to the crowd, and Jelly Roll is in the crowd for the show tonight. We then get the match with Tiffany Stratton. She doesn't face Asuka, though. She faces Kairi Sane as Asuka kind of bows out and offers Kairi up to get beat. Tiffany does beat her via pinfall following a PME. Nick Aldis then finds the Vision in his office. Logan Paul is indeed in the chamber, but he has to qualify first, and he has to beat Jacob Fatu. Paul Heyman isn't happy about this, but Logan says he's not worried and that he can do it. We then get Oba Femi defeating The Miz via pinfall following the fall from Grace Powerbomb. We then go to Carmelo Hayes. He still wants Ilya Dragunov to take up the U.S. Open Challenge. Dragunov is in a suit, and it's not going to happen tonight. Hayes tells him to take the shot before someone beats him to it. We then get Carmelo Hayes having his Open Challenge for the night. He defeats Matt Cardona via pinfall following the first 48. And then after the match, they shake hands and respect is shown. We then go to the tag teams of SmackDown. They look at the crate. R-Truth teaches them how to download the ESPN app and watch the show tomorrow night. Johnny Gargano is wheeled in, but Candice LeRae has to get to the ring for her match. Kit Wilson comes in to call all of the guys toxic for making fun of Johnny Gargano. And when Kit leaves, they all the rest of the tag team division kind of laughs about it. We then get Jordan Grace. She defeats Candice LeRae via pinfall following a pump handle suplex. We then go to Raquel Rodriguez. She thinks that Judgment Day could get both women's titles at WrestleMania, but Jade Cargill comes in to cut her off. They bicker a bit, and then Michin and BFAB come in to say that they have Cargill's number first. We look at AJ Styles' tribute and his Hall of Fame announcement from Raw. Cody Rhodes says he hopes it's Jacob Fatu in the chamber and walks off to see Sami Zayn. They shake hands without saying too much. Zayn then goes over to Fatu and asks how Jey Uso's doing. Apparently not too well, which has Zayn thinking Fatu might have been the one to do it. Fatu threatens to beat up Sami and doesn't like that Sami's coming after him. Sami goes on a rant about how he might have done it. He might have done it if it was him. That's shot down as well. With Sami Zayn eventually telling Fatu to go win. And he says he's sorry for accusing him of anything. And then Sami Zayn is still kind of fuming as Fatu walks away and, slings a table over. We then get our women's tag team title match. The Irresistible Forces become your new women's tag team champions. That's obviously Nia Jax and Lash Legend. They defeat Rhea Ripley and Io Sky when Lash hits the Lash extension on Rhea. And again, the Irresistible Forces, as they're now called, are the new women's tag team champions. We then get Charlotte and Alexa. They are in the back. They are not happy with the title change. Charlotte is eating buckets of ice, or like little pints of ice cream. She has 2 or 3 of them. And she's trying to get over Alexa being in the Elimination Chamber and having the possibility of going to WrestleMania without her. Julia and Kiana James come in to mock both of them, but Jade shows up and wishes them all a sarcastic good luck, as Kiana and Alexa are obviously in the Elimination Chamber. We then get Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. They want Nick Aldis to do something about the Wild Six. Aldis saw Sikoa lose clean, so it's time to find new number 1 contenders for the tag team titles, which we'll find out next week. Solo seems to say that this is okay with him, and says they're not worried about facing anybody on the roster. We then get the Irresistible Forces. They're very happy with their title win, and Kathy Kelly is informed that she is not invited to their title celebration. We then get the opening of Elimination Chamber, which focuses on CM Punk in Chicago. He's used to the sides closing in, which is why he isn't bothered by the idea of the Elimination Chamber, despite the fact that he's not in the match. But he's just kind of getting across the idea that he's to the point in his career where he's not worried about big matches and kind of environments like that. We then get Randy Orton. He runs into Aleister Black and Zelina. Black thinks that the Black Mass woke up something in Orton, and Orton promises to find him after Elimination Chamber, and that is exactly what Alistair wants. And then we get our main event, the qualifier for the Elimination Chamber. Logan Paul is able to defeat Jacob Fatu via pinfall when Drew comes out and nails Jacob with the belt, and Logan capitalizes with a roll-up, and Logan Paul qualifies for the Elimination Chamber. So obviously, I think they just wanted to slide a Vision member in there because obviously Bronson Reed wasn't healthy and didn't end up winning that match. So they kind of wanted to have a Vision member in the match. Could have been Jacob. I think he'll somehow get involved in the title match at Mania at some point, but obviously this isn't the way he's going to get there. But the women's tag team title match was really good. I would check that out if you're going to check out a match from SmackDown. I thought it was really good. Big title change. Definitely a different direction for Rhea and Io going forward now. But yeah, really good match. We'll then go to Collision before we get to Elimination Chamber. MJF starts the show. He says, "We're not starting this show until Revolution is rectified." And he wants Tony Khan out here right now to change the match or the stipulation of the match. We get Kevin Knight coming out instead. He says he sees MJF trying to hide while Knight has been out here doing the job or getting the job done. Knight says he has better fashion and swagger than MJF, but he's also not just the future, but the here and now. MJF doesn't seem too impressed by Knight, but he does give Kevin Knight a world title shot on Dynamite. Despite all this, promising to make Knight history, and he is, take him out for good. We then get Mark Briscoe. He wants to face Tommaso Ciampa again, but tonight Ciampa is facing Jay Lethal. Ciampa, back in the day in Ring of Honor, had defeated and ended Jay Lethal's really long Ring of Honor title or TV title reign. We then go to our next match. It is the Death Riders of all the guys except Mox, pretty much. Pac, Garcia, Yuta, and Claudio. They defeat the Don Callis family of the scrub side of things. They defeat Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, Lance Archer, and unfortunately Josh Alexander. Yuta hits the running knee on Romero to get the win. After the match, Moxley gets in the ring to celebrate with his buddies, but Konosuke Takeshita comes in and they brawl for a little bit before getting separated. We then get Tommaso Ciampa. He defeats Jay Lethal via pinfall, following a running pump knee to get that victory. We then get a promo from the Inspiration, who have recently signed with AEW. They're here and they want to fight the Brawling Birds on Dynamite. So they don't officially announce the match, but I think it's going to happen on Dynamite this upcoming Wednesday. We then get a video on Clark Connors, just trying to, kind of introduce us to him, his character, kind of what he's all about. We then go to another match where Brawling Birds defeat Gypsy Mac and Tyra Rusamy when they hit the two birds, one stone on Rusamy. That is what they're calling their version of the Heart Attack. Pretty cool name, I would say. We then go to a video for a four-way tag match for $200,000 next week on Collision. It's going to be the Outrunners, Private Party, La Facción and Gobernable, and the Swirl. So we'll see who ends up with the money after that one. We then get Protocata defeating Top Flight when they both hit their finishers on Darius for the win. So obviously Kyle Fletcher hits the Brainbuster and Okada hits the Rainmaker. We then go to the after the match, though, Fletcher grabs the mic, declares himself and Okada the best champions in the history of AEW, and challenges are issued for both of their championships. Jet Speed then come out. They say they both beat him in singles matches in the Continental Classic. They wouldn't mind tagging against them. And Okada getting a world title shot once Knight wins the thing, or a trios title match. So they could have any kind of match. Obviously, each member of Jet Speed could face them for their titles. Obviously, Kevin Knight has a world title shot on Dynamite. So, maybe they could face him for that. Or if they can find a third guy, they could face them and Hangman for the trios championships. So just kind of tossing out the idea that these four guys might have title matches between them over the next month or so. We then get Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy. They want to fight the War Dogs of Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors, as they've obviously had tension with them over the last few weeks. We then get Tony Storm defeating Zeta Steel via pinfall following the Storm Zero. After the match, Marina Shafir comes in to brawl with Tony Storm. Wheeler Yuta comes in and joins. Storm fights back and actually rips Yuta's beanie hat off, revealing a mostly bald head. He obviously has been wearing the hat, so some of the hair has grown back, but it's still pretty buzzed. And he was embarrassed about it, runs back, kind of runs away, so nobody can see him, quote unquote. When they get Hook, he is recruiting for the Ops. Some guy walks up to him and says he wants to spot, but he says, "Yeah, you would like that, wouldn't you?" Anthony Bowens comes in to offer his services. They talk about how they're friends, how Bowens has always had Hook's back. Hook kind of says maybe, because he doesn't think Bowens has that killer instinct in him, so he needs somebody that has that killer instinct in him. So I assume Bowens will try to earn his trust and earn his spot on the Ops, but obviously Hook's doing some recruiting, but he needs killers. He doesn't need just regular guys in his stable. We then get Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa. They defeat the Sisters of Sin when Stat hits the Saturday Night Fever on Julia, and then Rosa follows that with a package powerbomb for the win. We then have, after the match, Tekla comes down, says if there is one thing she can't stand, it's two dumb bitches. She is ready to beat Rosa, who should just go ahead and retire already, as injury prone as she is. She says, give it up for the past of the women's division because now it belongs to Tekla. And then we get our main event where Andrade El Idolo defeats Tomohiro Ishii via pinfall following the DM. After the match, Bandito comes out, gives him some applause and a stare down, and they officially announce the match is going to happen at Revolution. They don't mention that it's for the Ring of Honor title, but obviously Bandito is the Ring of Honor champion, so we'll see if that ends up being a title match or if it's just kind of a grudge match. But as far as best match on the show, I would go with Proto Kata versus Top Flight. Obviously Fletcher is one of my favorite guys, so odds are if he's going to be in the show, he's probably going to be in the best match, because I think he's just one of the best in the world at this point. So, but that tag match was pretty solid. And we will go to Elimination Chamber to finish the week out. We get an opening video. It's the same one that pretty much aired on SmackDown. Talks about CM Punk growing up in Chicago, being used to pressure. That's why he's not scared of being inside the chamber. Once again, he's not in a chamber match. So obviously, I guess they maybe filmed this before plans change, because obviously I think at a certain point he was going to win this and maybe challenge a champion at WrestleMania. So, but we open with the Women's Chamber. Rhea Ripley wins the Women's Elimination Chamber, last eliminating Tiffany Stratton. She hits her with Riptide and wins the match. So she'll face Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's title at WrestleMania. The other participants in the match were obviously Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Raquel Rodriguez, and Kiana James. We then go to the Women's Intercontinental title match. AJ Lee defeats Becky Lynch via submission with the Black Widow and becomes the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Obviously, I don't think this feud is over. There was some kind of chicanery with the ref throughout the match, so I think they'll probably rematch at WrestleMania, maybe with a stip in mind, maybe I quit or something like that. We then go to the back. R-Truth is with Aldis and Pierce. They're at the crate, and we will find out what is in the box tonight. And then, obviously, with Truth being there, it is a advertisement, and it is a Papa John's commercial pretty much. He says, we'll find out what's in the pizza box, and it's obviously a Papa John's pizza. We then go to CM Punk. He defeats Finn Balor via pinfall, following a GTS to retain his World Heavyweight title. After the match, Balor gets up, shakes Punk's hand before leaving. No attacks, anything like that. No Judgment Day. AJ Lee then comes out with her championship, and they do they kind of celebrate together, hug, and hold the belts up at the same time. We then go, we show a couple of commercials. We come back to the arena. We have Aldis and Pierce. They both have crowbars and the big boxes in the entranceway. They open the crate, and there is a coffin inside. The coffin then opens, and we have a bunch of dancers with their faces painted, and their faces are painted like Danhausen, as this is the thing that was in the box was Danhausen. He has a bunch of girls come out dance with him. He has his own theme song, which keeps just saying his name and repeating the words "You are cursed," which is kind of his catchphrase. Cole gives him his signature jar of teeth, gets in the ring, has a little bit of pyro go off, and it's not even like spectacular pyro. It's kind of just lame, little, kind of smoke. You just kind of smoke and a little bit of an explosion to kind of obviously play off the idea that he's kind of a comedy joke character. So, but the lights then go out and then he disappears. So, um, you know, I think the box could have been something cooler, but obviously, Danhausen's big friends with CM Punk. So, um, you know, when this came to be, and there were rumors of him not being on the AEW roster page anymore. So, uh, coming into that day, I should say. So it was pretty apparent that it was going to be him after a certain point, and it's probably good that it was a comedy kind of thing coming out of the box and not something that was supposed to be seen as serious. But I think the crowd was kind of pissed that this wasn't something that they wanted it to be, and it ends up obviously being Danhausen. So we'll see what Danhausen does. I don't think he'll accomplish too much. I think he'll kind of be in the Alpha Academy kind of role of having a match every now and then, but mostly being in backstage segments kind of make you laugh. So, kind of like R-Truth did earlier with the pizza commercial. So, and then we get the men's elimination chamber. Randy Orton wins that, last eliminating Cody Rhodes. Drew McIntyre had come in to attack Cody Rhodes. They eventually both hit. They both hit Drew with the RKO and the Crossroads. But as soon as Cody comes out of the Crossroads on Drew, Randy hits him with the RKO and gets the win. So Randy is seemingly going to face Drew at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, and go for his 15th world title. The other participants in the match obviously were Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Logan Paul, and LA Knight. Orton then celebrates, kind of stands over Cody at a certain point, kind of young boy in him, it seemed a little bit, but pyro kind of goes off, and Orton celebrates, pointing at the WrestleMania sign to signify that his journey is to be world champion at the biggest show of the year. So, I think it was a pretty solid show up and down. I don't think anything really blew me away per se. The women's chamber was definitely the best match of the show, I would say. Rhea versus Jade is a big kind of star match. I don't know if it'll be, technically very good. But I think it's, major star power, two pretty sizable girls that can beat the shit out of each other. So I think it'll be a solid match, but it might not be like a technical classic or anything like that. The two title matches were fine. Obviously, with it being in Chicago, you knew Punk was going to retain. You had a pretty good idea that AJ was either going to win or it was going to be some chicanery. Otherwise, Randy was obviously a surprise. I think a lot of people thought Cody was going to win coming in because it seems like Cody versus McIntyre is kind of the plan, and it seemed like Aleister Black and Orton had something going on. So obviously there are rumors out there that they may go with a 5-way for the title. So Aleister maybe finds his way in with the feud with Orton, and obviously Jacob and Cody have some issues. They do have a match on SmackDown, Cody versus Drew for the title. So Cody may win the title. They may just go with Orton versus Cody, with Jacob maybe screwing Drew out of the championship or something like that. A lot of things can happen. We could have the 5-way, we could have the one-on-ones, the separate one-on-ones. But obviously, it makes for a pretty exciting road to WrestleMania from here. I think they really need to start establishing some paths for some people going forward here pretty quickly, because I don't really think they established a ton of WrestleMania matches on this show. But I think over the next couple of weeks of SmackDown and Raw, they need to really kick it into gear. So, but I don't know if I said it, but best match for me was the Women's Chamber. And yeah, that ends up the week. Obviously a pretty stacked week. Again, the last stop for WWE PLE wise until we get to WrestleMania. Like I said, hopefully they kick into gear on the build and some kind of start laying out some matches for the card for WrestleMania. So over the next few weeks. But thank you for joining me as always, and we'll see you next time.